Hi, my name is Shelby Hill, and I'm going to be here to talk about the bad questions for interviews. And so, after looking at the article that we were supposed to read, I really found myself focusing on the age and on the um, physical abilities. And so the reason I drive myself towards that is because I am a coach. And so I have been blessed over the past 3 years to be able to sit in on interviews and really get to hear the questions that are asked and get to ask again on questions for athletic standpoints. And I've also been very blessed that I've gotten to do that at two different levels. And so 3 years ago, I was at the middle school level. The last 2 years, it's been at the high school level. And so I got to hire for all girls coaches at the middle school level. I was the girls coordinator. And now I'm the dual sports coordinator at the high school. And so I get to hire for golf, swimming, gymnastics, and tennis. And so I really found myself looking at those. And the reason being is because um, coaches have to put in a lot of hours. We're on our feet in the classroom, we're on our feet at practice, and then there's going to be days that we're on our feet at games multiple times a day or multiple times a week. And so there are duties. Sometimes you're going to have to be lifting weights. Sometimes you may have a kid that falls out, that may pass out, and you have to lift them and take them somewhere. I mean, there are physical attributes that you have to have when looking at the coaching standpoint. Those are definitely features that you can see. Age takes a toll on our body. Standing 15, 16 hours a day takes a toll on our body. We all know that. And so, again, those are things that you can physically see. But again, I gravitated towards as I was looking through that list. And so there are a few things that we do at Odessa High that I kind of just want to mention, and it goes along with the questions that aren't listed on that page that I would really like to know about. And so with our district, we do have a list of questions that are what we call our main three, which is our head principal and our two associates. And so they came up with a list of questions and then sent it into our HR department. And the reason being is they just didn't want those tricky questions or those ethical issues to come up, have one of them ask one of those questions. They just didn't want any situation to come up. And so they sent it into our HR department, which overseed, looked over the questions and sent back the okay, or hey, you need to change the wording on this question, whatever the case may be. And so they do have a list of questions. It covers all bases from the classroom to athletics. And so uh, we don't deviate from that list of questions for the reason of you don't want to put yourself in any issues. You want to make sure that everything that you do is by the book, it's ethical, and good to go. And so typically we open it up with an open-ended question, and through that open-ended question, it's just tell us about yourself. And so they typically, at that point, you would be able to tell everything about this person, whether they're fit to be a coach, they're fit to be in the classroom. Um, they're just if they're content to be in this position that they're being interviewed for. And so a lot of the questions that are asked for the classroom is collaborative. There's a lot of grade level PLC meetings or content meetings. There's a lot of lesson planning meetings, PLCs. Those things happen quite often. And so how well do they collaborate with others? How well do they work with others? What does the first 5 minutes of your classroom look like? That's crucial because the first 5 minutes can tell a lot to an administrator. And so that's another question that's being asked. And then the other one that really gets asked is about mentor teaching. Again, that's one of those collaborative things. How well do you do with criticism? How well do you do with change? How well do you do with adapting to different situations? And so they do throw scenarios out there in the interview um, that allow you to kind of get a feel for what they're about to kind of ask. And so then they just say, how do you feel about having a mentor teacher? Regardless if you're at that 22-year mark or you're at 30 years or your first year, maybe you're 5 years, anytime that you're first year at a new school in ECIC, whether you're coming into ECIC or changing locations, you're going to have a mentor teacher, which I think is kind of cool because you're adapting. They're there to help you adapt to the new school. On the coaching side of things, a lot of the questions and a lot of the things that I want to know is how are you going to drive academics through your athletic program? And so that's a huge thing for me personally. I want to make sure that they're a student before they're an athlete, and so that's the basis of the questions that I bring there. I do bring scenarios, role play, because again, if you don't pass, you don't play. So just want to make sure that every coach that we bring in understands that. And so then you have scenarios of how do you deal with angry parents? How do you deal with coaching conflict? How do you deal with sharing of athletes? And so, luckily, on the dual sports side, we don't really share athletes between sports. We really share, we normally just share athletes between athletics and fine arts. But fine arts takes a lot of time, just like athletics does. So, just kind of seeing where they feel about kids doing multiple things, getting the best out of their high school career. And so those are definitely questions that we typically like to ask. But out of all of those questions, you're gonna get a feel for if they're if they're well enough or if they have what it takes, if they fit that vision and mission that you have for the school. And so you're gonna get all of that out of that information. If there is any information that you kind of want to see from somebody other than the interviewer themselves, references. If they're coming from the district, you can definitely network with other people at the campus that they're coming from just to get an outside perspective of the person. But really, references is going to be where you're going to be able to ask those open ended questions and really be able to get a feel for who the person is from somebody else's view. And so that's really what we do at Odessa High before we decide to hire. There's a very extensive screening process that they have to go through before they even get to the interview. And then the interview happens, and then there's a post interview that'll happen with the references before they make the recommendation for hire. And so, again, I've been very blessed to sit through interviews. I've been very blessed to get to see this side of everything, the administrative side. And I think it's a cool thing to see. I think it's a cool thing to sit in on. But yeah, that's my take on the bad questions and what other questions that weren't listed that you would need to know before hiring somebody for a job. Thanks for listening, guys. Have a great day. Bye.